Let's go!
My second favorite game of the year is a game that I was pressured. I was pressured. I was uncomfortable and pressured to say that this was my second favorite game of the year. I don't want to appeal towards the popular audience, but I feel like it needs a specific nod. Party Animals was absolutely incredible. This game hit on so many levels of multiplayer enjoyment that it's taken me a long time to sort of analyze why I feel this way about this game. Party Animals is not my second favorite game of the year. Hades is my number 2 game of 2020. And it pains me to say it, because regardless of the amazing narrative that I've built in my head about discovering this game and being the one to put it on the map, I was the one that did it, right? It was me. I'm the one that discovered this game, and it's got Game of the Year. Jeff Keighley, after he said it, I wanted to be sure once Jeff Keighley was the one, I was going to get it out there. I was going to be the one to spread Hades wide open. I just hate Matt McMuscle so much right now. Matt, I hate you so much right now that you bugged my ass. I hate enabling Matt. So here's the problem, right? Okay, here's the thing. I would love to lick this game's ass from bottom to top. I'd love to do it. I'd love to. But by doing this, what I am doing is enabling Matt to come back in the future and try to introduce something to me in the same way that he did for Hades. To enable him and everyone else that tried to enable him to do that thing again. This the peer pressuring aspect. It came out at a time where my child was being born and I didn't have the time to play it, and then by the time I had a chance to play it, there was other shit coming out. And of course I was gonna play Avengers over this shit. Of course I was. That was not a good idea. Granted, that was not a good idea. I was like, oh, it's an indie roguelike? I've never played a roguelike. I've never played a Supergiant game. What? You know, that's cool. I'm sure people love it, man. That's awesome. This is one of the most addictive fucking games I've played in a long time. If we're talking about one more, just one more, just one more. Maybe I'll do this time, just one more. I can't. It's crazy. It's crazy how, like, the core combat hasn't changed a ton, but also changes super dramatically from run to run. It's crazy that the environments are relatively limited and the game's not super long, but you can probably spend hundreds of hours in this fucking game and have a different experience every single time. It feels like they really thought this shit through. And then I go and I learn about Hades and its development, and I essentially find out that the game has been in early access for practically 2 years now. In a very early state, playable, and until its official 1.0 release, was constantly being tuned and modified and updated and added content and all this stuff, where I go back and I see people playing builds and I'm like, this video is from 2019. What the hell? And then I learn about the game's development, and yeah, they specifically wanted the game to be an early access sort of thing where they were going to figure out how to make the best kind of game with their audience as they played it live. And funny enough, I think in a way it sort of led to the game not getting as much press, because I didn't even realize Hades was out, right? I didn't even realize that this game was completely playable in almost like not complete, like complete content form, but all the core gameplay mechanics and everything people have been just had complete access to for like a year and a half. And then finally at 1.0 release, it was like done. They were satisfied with the game is as it was, and they were able to release it with its official title, you know? And that's a weird thing because it seems like it just happened, and I didn't realize it happened until the word of mouth kicked in. In a similar way that Ghost of Tsushima sort of caught a lot of people by eye, and this is not a Ghost of Tsushima situation. This is not a big AAA game. This is a small development studio that makes very focused games, that has been making very focused games for 10 years. For them to make something that just, in every single fashion, just screams polish and quality. Just screams it in every single way. It's ridiculous that in a year that had some of the biggest releases in video game history, technically, and brand new console launches, this indie title that's been in early access for a couple of years now ends up being the game of the year for so many people. And it seems like, why is that? Doesn't make any sense. Whenever I watched people play Hades, what was my impression? I just see this bitch doing the same shit over and over again. I see this guy dashing and slapping and dashing and slapping and then dashing and slapping ad nauseum. I'm trying to see what people like about this, and I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's fair, because you don't get it until you actually play it. Until you understand the choices, the consequences, everything that goes into a run that can impact a run, the story that happens during a run of the escape from hell, all the different little elements that can make something super exciting or super random or super focused, that you're going for this build with this weapon and all this shit, is insanely well designed. And as someone, like I said, that's never played a roguelike, someone that has now beaten this game at a point where I'm comfortable with it, right? I haven't done everything in it, but I've beaten it with every single weapon. And now I'm unlocking a whole new level of content that I'm excited to try out even later tonight. It's crazy how replayable it is. It's crazy how much all the elements complement each other, how realistic the world feels, how great the characters are, how focused the music is with each moment, how everything about the gameplay is insanely responsive and feels fucking fantastic, right? How all that stuff just comes together. It's art. All of it just comes together in a perfect fashion. It's got 99% positive reviews on Steam for a very good reason. I heavily encourage you that for anybody that looked at this game and they're like, I just see a dude running around and dashing and picking up shit. Is it like Diablo? Like, what is it? It's hard to fully comprehend how to describe how much fun this game is until you tell somebody to go play it. And that's the moment that got me too. When I had to rack through my brain the process, I'm like, wait a minute, so if I die, I essentially get more story stuff. So it's like dying is part of the game in many ways. Like dying is an aspect to actually get better. Like dying is literally in the game design so that you can earn new elements that'll make you not die anymore. I love that shit, dude. I love the fact that every single run is going to be something different and unique. And the hope that you're going to get this crazy buff that might potentially show up here if you set up all these events on the way through, if your decisions that happened 3 levels ago are going to make a huge impact on this thing, and you somehow beat the last boss with like an iota of health. I think every single time I've had a run in this game, and I've had like 22 runs in total and I've beaten it 6 times, is deeply fucking fascinating. And the fact that and I can see the early access of it, because if this game didn't have an early access, that would be it. You know, that would be about the extent the game is as far as content. But because it has an early access, there's literally about 160 to 100 hours at least of more gameplay and shit to collect and things to get. Because at early access, they found that people were beating the game fast enough, and they're like, so how can we do this? Oh, this other game does this very well. Let's see if we can do our own version of that. And now there's a shit ton of extra stuff that you can do. And so much, and modifiers of the core game to make it way more replayable. I love it. I love the characters. I love the world. I love the environment. I hate magnet muscles. I love the story that happens at the end when you get to the top and you learn more, and there's a great reason for completing the game again and doing all this shit over and over and over again. It's truly something special. And I think it specifically shows how much the devs cared about every single aspect of the game, right? And I think it's also a wonderful story, because Supergiant has always made games like this. These are the kind of games that they do, these very focused gameplay nuanced titles that have unique art and design and things like that. And for this one to be their smash hit, right? For 10 years later of them working together as a studio, of making all these games that are very critically acclaimed, but never really, like, obviously exploded to the same degree that Hades has. Dude, it's gonna be fucking nuts, dude. When Comic-Con comes back and stuff, when E3 comes back, or, you know, conventions, to see how many fucking people are dressed up as Hades characters, to see how crazy the fandom is going to go, because they nurture that fandom throughout all of the story in this game. They nurture so much of that stuff throughout everything. There's so much story and so much character moments and dialogue, and it's all so fucking good. I'm gonna say right now, there's only a few other video game experiences where, like, Greek mythology has been cool, and God of War has always had a very, like, one-to-one sort of interpretation of that shit. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, what everyone thinks Greek mythology is, in a one-to-one sort of direct representation in video game form with angry Kratos guy, right? And this game does something completely different when Greek mythos. And in my opinion, it's way more interesting. Way more fucking interesting with its characters and stuff like that, even though God of War is obviously a fucking amazing series. I haven't fucked Skelly yet, right? I haven't romanced anyone. I'm still desperately trying to figure out how we can get Skelly into bed. But all I'm saying is I've enjoyed every single moment of this game. From ridiculous frustration of dying at Hades or dying close to the end, thinking I have a great run, and then I just suck it up and I have to do it all over again, to eventually having these builds and these weapons figure out some amazing combination. I think this game directly wins in design, right? I think this is one of the best designed games I think I've ever played. And it shows that in its early access release that they were working with their audience over and over and over, from update to update to update, through its core game design of making the game replayable, making it addicting, and making it as fun as it possibly can be. Once again, I heavily encourage anyone that has played this shit, don't just look at gameplay and see zip and zip and smack and smack and zip and smack and think that that's all there is to the game. Don't do it, man. Just jump in and try it, and then do a run, get the premise of how the game works, and then go back and start doing more runs and start unlocking stuff, and realize how much fun that whole process is. And it doesn't stop after 20 hours, which is what I'm even at right now. I have to give it to Hades. This little independently made game that was made in the middle of a pandemic in San Francisco by a very small development team of people that truly give a shit, ends up being the smash fucking hit of 2020 for so many people, and one of the highest reviewed games ever on Steam. And you know what? It deserves it. It deserves it. And I personally think this probably would be my game of the year if something else quite significant had not also happened in 2020. So Hades gets my second favorite game of the year, and I think it deserves every amount of praise that it's gotten. God damn it, Matt McMuscles. God damn it.